Hi guys, hope you are finding this week going well. I would like to go over our most missed questions from a couple of our quizzes this week. We are preparing for our final exam. Again, remember our final exam is going to be offered on December 8th, and you really want to be prepped and prepared for that. All right, so let's take a look at the first most missed question, and that is this one. We are wanting to identify which of the following statements are true. We are also given that in the diagram that the lines K, M, and N are parallel. So we know that there are several angle relationships that we can develop from parallel lines being cut by a transversal. So we want to take all of those into consideration. But we are missing a few things here, so I want to make sure that we look at it in a different way. So let's use a highlighter. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to identify my congruent angles. So we have 12 angles from 1 to 12 here, and we want to list off the ones that are congruent. So let's start off with angle 1. So let's highlight angle 1. Here's angle 1. List off and highlight in green all the angles that are congruent to angle 1. So we first should recognize that angle 4 is vertical to angle 1. Then we could say that corresponding to angle 1 would be angle 5. Also corresponding to angle 4 is angle 8, but angle 8 is also vertical to angle 5. So far we have angle 1, angle 4, angle 5, and angle 8 as congruent to each other. Now carrying on to line N, we have angle 9 is corresponding to 1 and 5. He's also an alternate interior angle to angle 8. And then we also can say that angle 12 is congruent to 8, 4, and then also to 9 because it's a vertical angle to 9. So as you can see right now, just with our green highlights, that we have angles 1, 4, 5, 8, 9, and 12 are all congruent to each other. So now let's change colors. We'll go with pink. All right, so let's take a look at everything that is going to be congruent to angle 2. So again, applying vertical angles, we have 3. Corresponding to 2 would be 6. Vertical to 6 would be angle 7. And we could also apply corresponding angles like 3 and 7 are corresponding, or 2 and 7 are alternate exteriors. Again, 3 and 6 are alternate interior. So again, all of those different variations are coming into play. So angle 7 is an alternate interior to angle 10, but also angle 10 is corresponding to 6 and to 2. And of course 10 and 11 are vertical. So now we have all our pink angles, and they are all congruent to each other. So now let's talk about the relationship of those angles that are not necessarily congruent to each other, but maybe have a different relationship. So for instance, angle 1 plus angle 2 would be equal to 180 degrees. And I hope you recognize that because they are a linear pair. So that's one option there. Now we could also go on around in a loop and say, okay, well 2 and 4 are a linear pair, 4 and 3 are a linear pair. And of course the 180 rule being supplementary would apply. But let's also think about, what about 4 and 6? So angle 4 and angle 6 would also be 180 degrees, and that is because they are consecutive, or sometimes called same side interior. So now let's kind of go and apply this rule to some other angle relationships. Let's think about, what if I were to ask you about, let's say, angle 2 and angle 8. So let's just think about angle 2 with the angle 8. What do we notice about these two angles? And hopefully you recognized, well, angle 2 was a pink highlight and angle 8 was a green highlight. And if we applied that same concept to our other situations over here, we found that angle 1 was a green highlight and angle 2 was a pink. Same thing if we looked at 4 and 6. So angle 4 was one of our green and angle 6 was one of our pink ones. So just looking at color, let's just think about it. Green plus pink is equal to 180. So if we did the same thing with angle 2 and angle 8, we now could say, well, angle 2 is congruent to all my pink angles, angle 8 is congruent to all my green angles, so therefore they must also be 180 degrees. So they're supplementary. That rule can be applied. Now sometimes that would be considered, like the relationship between angle 2 and angle 8 would be same side exterior angles. And they are supplementary. So now applying all of that to our problem down here. All right, so let's kind of look. What did they give us? We have angle 5 and angle 8. What do we know about 5 and 8? Well, angles 5 and 8 are vertical. So they are congruent. So this statement is true. So let's look at angle 2 and angle 6. Well, angle 2 and angle 6 are both pink angles, so that might create a problem for being equal to each other. The only way that that would work is if we knew that 2 and 6 were both 90 degrees. So this one can't be true unless we had perpendicular lines, and that's not the case. So we're going to consider him false because we could actually prove that he's potentially false here. So now let's look at what we have going on with section 3 here. All right, so angle 1 was one of our green angles. 6 is a pink. 7 was a pink. And 12 is a green. So if we just kind of hold true to what we've been talking about here and above, is that we do have this relationship going on between pink and green, just based on the way that we had highlighted these colors. So is it not true then that we could say, okay, well, angles 1 and 6 are supplementary, so they're equal to 180. 7 and 12 are also supplementary, so they're equal to 180. And we could then set them equal to each other, or add them together, sorry, and we would find that they are 360 degrees total. So this statement is also a true statement. I hope that clarifies a little bit about what was going on with these. And again, just kind of remember that we can prove that these relationships exist. Using color, I hope, helped illustrate that a little better for you. See you back for part 2.